Guys, most men I know have been told to be kind and gentle and please everyone around them. So we grow up trying to be people pleasers at a level where it starts to cost us a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money. Think about it. How many people in your life are you focused on making happy and making them feel safe, making them feel secure, making them feel like you are really truly a good man? I was doing that for most of my life. For many years, I told myself that it's important for me to be the one who makes people around me happy. And so much of my energy was focused on that I didn't have the full power to focus on wealth. And so the number one reason that men are not absolutely financially successful in their 30s and 40s is because most likely they are people pleasing a lot. And it's common because all of us have been raised to people please. So many of us people please our moms when we are young boys. And we tell our moms that everything is okay, and we constantly kiss their ass because as young boys, we need our mothers to take care of us. And we need them to feed us and give us water and be kind to us. So we learned naturally to fawn. What is fawning? Fawning is people pleasing. It is when we start to say yes to things that we really don't want to say yes to. We really want to say no. And we start to continually beg people for their approval. And this is what fawning is. Fawning is when men seek other people's approval of their actions. And when we seek other people's approval of our actions, we are not standing in our power. We are actually followers, not leaders. So if you want to step into your wealth, you must own your power and stop people pleasing. And stop asking other people about what they think of what you already know, as weird, as wild, as outrageous as it might be. Guys, the second reason that most of us men are not absolutely successful and rich by the time we're 30 or 40 is because we have poor relationship with money. Many of us have grown up with poverty parents who have told us really stupid shit about money and about things that they don't even understand themselves. So many of us grew up with poverty mindset around how money works. And so when we learn how to have better money habits, we're able to elevate our wealth very quickly. Think about it. This is why they say that the 5 people you hang out with impact your life. Why? Because you get their habits. And if they have good money habits, you learn good money habits. Most of us came from households that had bad money habits. That's why they were broke in the first place. And so good money habits, good money relationships, good money education, this all goes together in helping us men become successful. So where are you getting your money relationship from? Where are you getting your money education from? What kind of people are you paying attention to when it comes to money? And are you giving attention to the poverty people, the guys who behave like they're really cool and they're really like thuggish, have no money, they're broke? Or are you looking up to the guys who are focused on growth and mindset and heart set and closing deals and understanding people's body language and really focusing their mind and their energy on the relationships that they create? So many of us have relationships that are poverty relationships. They're poor. They're low in frequency. And when you have low frequency relationships, guess what happens? You have low frequency wealth. So pay attention to your frequency and to the frequency of the people that are around you, people you hang out with. Their frequency is going to affect your frequency because their habits, their behaviors, it's all codes. All of it is encoded. So when you hang out with low frequency codes, you get low frequency results. And one of those results is often represented in your finances. This is why most thugs are broke, because their behaviors are thuggish. They're not high frequency. And so when you get high frequency, it's no wonder most of the successful men in the world behave in a similar way. You see that. And it's not till you start to pay attention to their behaviors that you start to see their behaviors are not low frequency. They're elevating. They're increasing. And so many of us have been told by our families that rich people are evil, that successful people are all crooks and criminals. Isn't that what your poverty parents told you? That successful people are all crooks and criminals and cheaters? Is that really true? Because I know many guys who are extremely successful, and they're not crooks, and they're not criminals. And they're actually good-hearted, hard-working, devoted, connected, honest guys. Because when you find guys like that, and you realize that, wow, this guy is not a crook, you realize that, wow, maybe I can be rich. Because being rich doesn't always mean being crooked and cheating and stealing and hurting other people. And yet when we hang out with poverty people, that's all they assume it is. So what kind of people are you hanging out with? What kind of frequencies are you connecting yourself to and associating yourself with? And one of those lower frequencies, guys, is something that starts with a P. It's called porn. Porn is low frequency, and so many guys hang out there for so long. I know I did. I was addicted to porn. I started watching porn when I was 11 years old. And when I watched the porn, it blew my mind. I was like, what the fuck? That exists? And there was so much dopamine and excitement and scared and joy and all of these really exciting experiences that I had through my exposure to porn. And what I didn't realize is underneath the excitement, there's a lot of damage that is happening. I didn't realize that underneath the excitement, there is shadows and shame and dysfunction and pain and sorrow and disconnection. And I wasn't paying attention to that. But after years and years of watching porn and being addicted to the dopamine and to the emotions and to the pain, I started realizing that my frequency was low because porn operates in the lower frequency. And when you're in that frequency for long periods of time, what starts to happen is your frequency goes down. And guess what? Your frequency of wealth goes down. Your frequency of joy goes down. Your frequency of success goes down. You're constantly hiding and in the shadows. So where can you let go of these lower frequency connections in your life? Where can you let go of the connections you've been carrying that are low frequency, that you know are low frequency, and no one's going to say anything about it because it's all on you? And that's a big decision to make, because no one's going to come and grab your hand when you're watching porn by yourself in a dark room. It's just you. And who's watching is you. And so for as long as you are choosing to connect yourself to these lower frequencies, what starts to happen is you don't make space for the higher frequencies. the higher frequencies, one of which is wealth, another of which is purposefulness and being in your life's purpose, another of which is having joy in your life rather than shame and sorrow and sadness and anger and challenge and problem solving. Because most guys, they're world-class problem solvers. They're world-class pain and sufferers. And if you want to be at the top, you got to check your frequency. And as you check your frequency, you got to be easy with yourself to not punish yourself and say, oh shit, I've been operating in lower frequency and now I'm going to punish myself and shame myself for it. Because as you elevate your frequency towards more wealth, more success, more joy, more ease, more grace, more beautiful, successful women around you, as you open your frequency to that level of connection, what starts to happen is you start to become more joyful. You start to become more connected. You start to become more influential. Why? Because now you're not pain and suffering. You're not in the shadows. You're not hiding. You're not shaming. What you're doing is you're starting to celebrate and you're starting to own your power at higher and higher levels and speaking your truth, not people pleasing, not betraying yourself, and starting to actually own your shit. So when you start to own your shit, what that means is you're not hiding your shit. You're not avoiding your shit. You're not concealing your shit. What you're really doing is you're saying, oh shit, my problems, I'm going to own them. I'm not going to hide them. And also, my assets, my strengths, I'm not going to hide them. I'm not going to shame them. I'm going to own them. That's called ownership. And this here is how your wealth starts to increase, because the more you're able to own your shit, the less people can fuck with you. The less you're in a rat race. Now you're a boss, literally. You're hiring people, you're firing people, you're letting people know what's okay and what's not okay, with love, not with pain, not with anguish, not with suffering, because that's what a good boss shows up like. And you see, when we're in poverty households, they tell us that bosses only show up like assholes and punish people and abuse people. That's what our poverty parents tell us that bosses look like. And that's why most of us are afraid to be bosses. We're afraid to stand in our power because we assume that the only way it's done is it's done in the pain and suffering and darkness space, which is false. Because I myself know many men who are extremely financially successful, who are bosses, are directive, are compassionate, are loving. They are guys who are honest and they own their shit and they don't people please, because they know that whatever they do, if it hurts somebody, that they will own it. They're not going to hide it. They're not going to avoid it. They're not going to run away. They will own it. They're not running away. They're not hiding. And on the other side of the coin, they also own their power. They own it when they're able to speak up in public. They own it when they meet the right woman and they approach her with confidence. They own it when they dress up and they walk into a room and they just address the room. What is that? That's ownership. And all of this is a part of elevating your frequency. So we've talked about, number one reason was people pleasing. Number two reason was poor money relationship, your frequency. And the number three reason why most men by their 40s are not absolutely successful is because they don't have mentorship. You see, most guys go about their life trying to figure it out alone. And most guys are told that if they get advice, that they're some kind of a wimp or a pussy or weak. So most guys become lonely, lone wolf animals who really don't have the success that they want, and they blame it on everyone else. And they blame it on the economy. They blame it on their ex-girlfriend. They blame it on whatever random nonsense that they can find. Why? Because they're not taking ownership. So mentorship is a part of having ownership. Because if you get somebody who is a man who has gone through the process of becoming successful, to explain this to you, to guide you, to share with you, this might take you another 30 years to find by yourself. So mentorship is extremely important for all men. I myself was the greatest recipient of this. I came to America as a war refugee. I was broke. I had no skills. I didn't speak English that well at all. And I was determined to be successful. And I said to myself, there's nothing that's going to stop me. And I worked hard. I worked my ass off. And I worked for hours. And I also ate shit. And I wasn't successful. And I kept trying. And I told myself, if I tried harder, maybe I would be successful. So I kept trying harder and longer and harder and longer. And you know what? When I didn't have the skills, the behaviors, the codes, the teachings, how could I ever grow that much? Only through pure pain and suffering and making mistakes? So one day, I ran into a guy who was going to hire me. And he was so wise. And it blew my mind how wise and intelligent this man was. And I interviewed with him for a job, and he didn't hire me. But I was so blown away by how intelligent this man was that I called him back 2 years later, as I was still struggling with success and not having money and working my ass off. I called this guy back and I said, hey, listen, I remember you. I came to work for you. You didn't hire me. I'm wondering, will you take another interview with me? Because I really want to work for you. He took me in. I had the interview with him. And this is a true story. And he said, the only way I will hire you is if you get mentorship from me, and I will not pay you any salary, only commission. And I was like, okay. I took a job with a guy who didn't pay me anything, who I was supposed to listen to as my boss, and yet he was so wise. So I had to make a decision for myself to make a choice like this, because for most people, they would never do such a thing. Most people are told that unless your boss pays you, don't get that job. And so they work for people who are really shitty bosses that pay them, but give them no value. And sometimes we find bosses or mentors that won't pay us, but they're extremely valuable to our lives. And most of the time, we have to pay them, because our paying them shows them how committed we are. So I went to work with this guy, and I didn't get paid anything. I was working on commission. And I learned and learned and learned. And I learned things that changed my entire life. You see, mentorship is all about learning. And if you are a man who is not open-minded to seeking and learning and letting go of your old paradigms, it's going to be really hard for you to achieve financial success because you're constantly going to be challenged with your own mental limitations. But for those of you who really want to achieve your life's purpose, who want to really achieve the highest level of success for yourself, you got to be willing to let go of certain mental paradigms that you have. And the best way to let them go, or should I say the most rapid way to let these mental barriers go, is to have a loving person challenge you on these mental barriers. And to challenge you in a way where you're able to see your limits and let them go. And in fact, that is what I've been doing for some years now. And as I've been sharing and mentoring men, what I've learned is how easy it is for men to become successful and rich when they get mentorship, when they're in front of someone who lovingly reminds them of how to really stand in their purpose, stand in their power, and somebody who doesn't fawn or people please them. You see, brothers, if you are people pleasing other people, you might not be teaching them a good lesson. And as a mentor, one of the things I never do is people please. Because if I people please, I'm not mentoring. I'm allowing other people to get away with their own lies and shadows. So let us remember that mentorship is extremely important for all of us men, and I'd like for you to really consider getting a mentor for yourself. A man that could teach you and give you information about success and about achievement and about fulfillment and about joy in a way that is actually heart-centered. It's not from pain. It's not from suffering. It's not from punishment. It's not from a place of you don't know what you're doing. And instead, it's from a place of encouragement, a place of letting you know that you are powerful, that you're able to achieve so many things so rapidly that it will blow your mind. A mentor who will tell you how incredible you are, just so you never forget how easy it is to be successful when you're around high frequency people who care about you, who are here to remind you of how easy it is, not how hard it is, how joyful it is, not how painful it is. And so this channel is dedicated to helping men remember how easy it is to stay connected. Join me on the journey of growing this channel. If you have a brother, a friend, a mentor, reach out to them and let them know that you care, that you're like, hey, you remember that thing that you taught me a few years ago? I really appreciate you. Thanks for that mentorship. And so I want you to also stand in your mentorship, to speak your truth. When you know something about something, help someone. And that's what this channel is about. Guys coming together and helping each other, saying, yes, you can do it. Yes, I believe in you. Yes, it's easy. Yes, you got this. Because when we hang out together in these high frequencies, it becomes so quick, so fast, so easy. That's the game. Staying connected in the frequency of truth.